Alright, hey everyone, and, welcome back. So I know it's been a bit since I've done an actual review. Haven't done one since the end of January, which, I guess, apologies there, this year's been kind of rough with, some me being sad and other problems I won't get into here. But I'm finally back. I have the energy now to actually put content out, and I figured for my grand return on this beautiful Friday, let's take a look at a game that I hold very dear to my heart. It's time to look at Mortal Kombat. What the hell was that? We don't have guests here. Looks like someone sent me a package or something. I guess that's thoughtful. Let's read it. To Marvel. We have unfinished business. Play this or die. From JV. Well, that's not ominous. Let's open it up. This ain't gonna be pretty.
Friday the 13th, the franchise that I continue to make content for... I don't know why at this point. Who doesn't love Jason Voorhees? I know I do, because I've already made 2 videos about this poor fella. Last time I gave the J-Man some attention, I looked at his multiplayer game, but there was always a part of me that wanted to take a look at the NES game at some point. This game itself is infamous for being notoriously difficult and a confusing mess to trek through. More than enough people have talked about it on this platform, including the AVGN himself, which is where I learned of this game. Despite the game not being good, it has maintained a legacy of its own, resulting in a NECA figure being made of him and being added as a skin in the 2017 game.
So with all that, let's get into some backstory on the game itself.
With how popular Friday the 13th and Nintendo were back in the 80s, it was a sure thing we were going to get a game at some point. The game was published by LJN and developed by Atlus, which shocked me given the titles that they would later put out in their lifespan, including Shin Megami Tensei and Persona. The game released back in February of 1989 in North America and was torn apart by critics at the time as well. They didn't really gel with the frustrating gameplay and the music, which is something we will definitely cover later. With all that, it's time for little old me to pop this into my Nintendo and finally cross this off my bucket list.
I thought the first NES game I would cover would be Batman 89, but, well, I guess we can save that for another day. But hey, remember when I beat it on stream?
Come on. Yes! Yes!
You beat him!
Oh, holy.
Alright, enough messing around. Let's talk about the story. If there is one.
Jason is attacking the children of Camp Crystal Lake, so it's up to you and 5 other camp counselors to put an end to this madness. Wait, that's it? Hold on. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, this game doesn't really have much of what you call a narrative aside from what you're doing in the game itself. The only screen beforehand is just some bullshit about lighting fireplaces up, which isn't exactly clear as to why you should. Just for shits and giggles, I looked up the game's manual to see if it offered anything, which it does have an introduction, so let me just read that to make things more dramatic. It's a pretty typical summer at Camp Crystal Lake. There's a group of happy children staying in the camp. You and your 6 camp counselor friends are watching over the kids while enjoying the lake and the wilderness. The days are bright and sunny. The nights are cool and clear, and Jason is on a rampage. It's up to you to stop him, but it's not going to be easy. You must first fight your way through the forest filled with man-eating wolves, caves covered with blood-sucking bats, and hordes of mindless zombies everywhere you turn. You must also help any friend who is in danger, or else you can just kiss them goodbye. And hiding in a cabin or staying adrift in a canoe won't keep you safe. Jason will find you anywhere. The only way to survive this summer is to challenge Jason face to face and destroy him.
Well, that didn't do shit.
I know some of you are going to say that the NES can't do stories in their games, and to that I call bullshit. Look at games like Ninja Gaiden, and hell, even Batman knew how to present a cohesive plot. I know that they could have done a little more than this, but what we have is just pitiful, even for Friday standards. I guess Atlas really didn't give a shit. But also, as I say that, this is the same devs that did the Karate Kid game.
So with that, let's go over gameplay. I guess. I don't know, dude. I'm just making it up as I go along.
After picking your character, you're set right in the action as you can jump with the A button and use weapons with B. Left and right on the D-pad is to move, of course, and you can duck as well. Up is for accessing the different paths and entering cabins when you come across them. Inside the cabins, it turns into a 3D game, kinda, and this is where you get the option to change, pass, cure, and take. Change allowing you to swap with other characters, pass which swaps items and weapons, cure which I never use, and take which picks up certain items you might find like notes and such. All these options are accessible by pressing select and hitting A to confirm. Now to talk about weapons and items you'll be collecting starting with your default form of attack. The Rock. This absolutely sucks with it being incredibly weak and having piss poor range. You don't need me to tell you the main rule of the game, so if you need a refresher, I'll just let him explain.
Number 1, get the knife. Number 2, get the knife. Number 3, get the knife.
Okay, it's not from his Friday the 13th video, but damn it, the rules still apply.
As for other weapons, we have a torch, machete, which of course we should, an axe, and the pitchfork. Besides the knife, the only other weapon I managed to get was the machete, I think, and I don't know how I managed to do that. They either drop from enemies or just appear out of thin air, cause why the hell not? Other items you can find include lighters for the fireplaces, vitamins which can heal you and other characters and can be used if you lose all your health, a flashlight which I didn't see at all, a key for unlocking certain doors, messages which give you hints that don't help, and a sweater in case it gets cold, I guess? Last thing to note is that each counselor has different attributes that sets them apart, from different running speeds, jump heights, attack power, etc. Whatever you do, do not pick George, that piece of shit. He is the worst for most of these classes, so you might as well just let Jason kill him right away. Debbie and Paul are not great either. Mark and Laura are pretty good, but the real MVP is Chrissy. She has all the best stats besides rowing and is just the GOAT overall.
Did I really just say that? Anyway, the other stuff.
Besides killing Jason, one thing that is really important is keeping the other counselors safe. Very often the Jason alarm will start blaring, and when you hear it, you need to book your ass to the flashing house on the map and pray that you make it in time. If you do, they will thank you for your efforts, but if you don't, you just lost a playable character to use. The Jason alarm is one of the worst things about this game. Most of the time the cabin you need to go to is on the other side of the map, and navigating your way there can be a humongous pain in the ass. I managed to lose a few counselors over the multiple playthroughs I attempted. After saving them and exploring, you'll have the chance to fight Jason head-on in a gameplay style that looks very familiar to another game on the NES.
If you thought of Ring King, you would be correct. Minus the weird blowjobs between rounds.
In these punch-out style battles, all you can do is really move around, attack, and dodge, which requires you to hold down and use left and right on the D-pad. In most cases you'll probably lose instantly, but you're able to repel him long enough for him to run away like a little bitch. With the right weapons you can kill Jason, so it is possible to beat this game, and I saw somebody on YouTube do it in 3 minutes. I don't know how, but somebody did it. Besides fighting the J-Man, you can also light fireplaces, which scares him. Lighting the right fireplace gets you the torch, but I have no idea how this game works anyway, so who cares. Enemies are abundant in this game and range from zombies to birds, wolves, bats, and you can even fight Pamela's floating head. For some reason. Graphics are a mixed bag for me. Environments look decent enough with the colors sometimes popping really nicely, but on the other hand, everybody looks like mannequins with blank faces, but at least Purple Jason looks rad. The music is extremely repetitive that loops every 2 seconds, but I kinda like it. There's an eeriness that I just jive with, but listening to it in game can be annoying after a while. It's the kind of soundtrack I find better listening on YouTube instead of hearing in the actual game.
You know, I think that pretty much covers it, so let's move on to my final thoughts.
Friday the 13th on the NES is a frustrating, difficult, confusing nightmare of a game, and I don't know what else to say, and I sure as hell don't need to tell you not to play it. I'm just baffled at what I actually accomplished throughout this whole process. I did 4 playthroughs back to back, and I was just as confused ending it as much as I was at the beginning. The gameplay is repetitive. I don't know where the hell I'm going or what I'm doing for the record besides saving kids or getting killed. If it's not some bullshit like having Jason karate chop me, I'm dealing with an infinite supply of zombies or fucking crows pecking at me, or let's throw bats in because why not? And with all that happening, I'm getting a migraine from the music looping every 2 seconds, and if that's not enough, I got the Jason alarm blaring in my ear. I'm at my wit's end, and it's only 15 minutes per playthrough because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. With all that said, despite all my negatives, I want to play it again. There's a charm this game has that makes you want to take another crack at it and maybe try and go a little further the next time. I feel like I'm not alone on this, and that's the reason the game has such a cult following and has garnered a legacy of its own. Unless you're a diehard fan, you don't need to be anywhere near this game even if there is a 10-foot pole between you. Guess I couldn't defeat Jason after all.
Okay, I'm awake. So yeah, guys, that pretty much covers it for Friday the 13th related video games. There's technically one more, but I don't know if I'm actually gonna do a full-on review of it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think, but as of right now, I'm not really in a hurry to cover it. But yeah, I guess the only thing really left to cover for Friday the 13th on the channel is the movies, and well, I'll figure it out in due time. But until the next video, whatever that may be, I have no idea. I have some ideas. Anyway, have a great night, thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves. Whew. Alright, I'm going to bed. I'm done. What a day. Well, that was weird. I don't know who sent me that game, but hey, at least I got another review out of it. And, so now I'm going to rest and forget that this day happened. See you on the flip side. Nice and warm in my bed. So, seems like I have another game to cover after Friday the 13th after all. So in 1989, Friday the 13th would hit store shelves, but a year later, the NES would get another taste of the slasher genre with A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is going to be so much fun.
Freddy Krueger, the stuff that nightmares are made out of. Even though I'm a Jason stan, I can't deny the overall charm and charisma that was brought to the screen by the thespian known as Robert Englund. We don't talk about Jackie.
Now that you got me, what game do you want to play next?
Fuck you.
Ooh, sounds like fun.
What a nightmare!
I got more interested in the franchise during my teen years, and it was interesting seeing the transition from pure horror to absolute ridiculousness. But regardless of how bad the series ran itself into the ground, Freddy will forever be on my Mount Rushmore of horror along with Jason, Michael, and Chucky.
I was this close to putting Leatherface on there, but if you don't like it, make your own. Anyway, let's go over the game's development.
Like Friday the 13th, this game was published by LJN and not developed by Atlas. Instead we have Rare, which again is a shock given all the games that they would go on to make, like Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, Killer Instinct, and Kinect Sports. God, that is so sad. So as far as info, there isn't a whole lot, but it seems like they had a different concept with you, the player, taking control as Mr. Krueger. I'm guessing the folks over at Nintendo weren't too keen on this, and maybe they saw the Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre games at Atari and knew it wasn't going to sell.
If I were them, I would have gone with it. I mean, hell, they made a game with toads that have the grossest names imaginable, so who cares?
The game released in October of 1990, and reviews were more mixed this time. Most people had problems with its difficulty, but praised its presentation and soundtrack. Also, like Friday NES, he would receive a NECA figure in 2013, exclusive to purchase at GameStop, which... sure. Now it's finally time to crack this game open and hope I can actually wake up after this experience.
Anyway, let's go over the story and see what we're dealing with here.
You and 3 other kids are collecting Freddy's bones so you can throw them in a furnace so the Springwood slasher can remain dead. Yeah, that's it. Just like the last video, there's not much of a narrative in the actual game itself, so back to the manual for the introduction. Alright, here we go. Something frightening has been happening on Elm Street lately. Each waking day heralds the discovery of another neighborhood teen that has passed away in the dark stillness of the night. Everyone says it's natural causes, but it's almost as if something, or maybe someone, has been picking them off one by one as they slept. It's a horrible nightmare come true, and this has a name. Freddy Krueger. It's up to you and your remaining friends to search Elm Street for his scattered bones and throw them all into the high school furnace. If you can just stay awake long enough, you might end Freddy Krueger's reign of terror for good. But you better hurry. It's getting late, and you can feel those eyelids getting heavier and heavier with each passing minute. Gotta give props for this game for having more of a story compared to Friday. It feels like something they would actually try in one of the movies, but what takes me out of it is having snakes, bats, and zombies trying to kill me in the real world. I would rather they attack me when I'm dreaming, but also at the same time I guess they had to have enemies to hit for both scenarios. Otherwise, what we have is just fine, and enough for me to try and take Freddy on anyway.
So anyway, on to gameplay now? Yeah, let's do it.
Controls are as simple as possible with A to jump, B to attack, and the D-pad to move. Left, right, and down are what you expect, and up allows you to enter houses. In the real world, you can find these tokens, which gives you powers in the dream world. These range from an athlete, a wizard, and a ninja, which I wasn't able to get, and I'll explain that a little later. Becoming a dream warrior is cool, and I'm glad they incorporated it into the game. The problem I find is you're going to want to spend more time awake, so you don't really get to use them much. That's basically it when it comes to the basics. It's something you should have no problem getting the hang of. One thing that is a pain to deal with is the character's traction. I feel like Luigi from the Lost Levels with greasy butter under my shoes. This might cause you to fall over the edge in one of the levels, so do me a favor and try not to be so brash.
Let's see what the other stuff is for this game.
So the entire game takes place on Elm Street. where you will find various houses, the high school, a cemetery, the junkyard, and finally Freddy's house. Inside each level, your goal is to collect all the bones in any given area and fight the boss at the end of the level. Enemies to deal with include the likes of snakes, bats, zombies for whatever reason, spiders, rats, falling stones, and that's just when you're awake. While you're asleep, you have stuff like Freddy versions of most enemies, skeletons, ghosts with bendy arms, and these weird shirtless guys. One piece of advice, and this goes for the whole game, is to take your time and try not to rush through because you're going to end up dead.
So now it's time to talk about the Dream Meter. Can't wait to explain this.
So as you keep playing, your meter slowly fades, and after it's gone, there's a cool transition. The world around you looks slightly different, and the enemies just look different. You can also use the dream powers, but one negative is that you can only collect them in the real world, and that's a shame. The only way to wake yourself is with the boombox, and you can fill your meter with coffee, which is something I'm glad they kept from the movies.
So now I want to talk about one thing that frustrated me and the reason why there isn't any more footage of the game.
At the start of the game, you only have access to the first 3 houses, but it's randomized. One thing that pisses me off is that you have to stand in a certain spot to enter, and it's really stingy with where you stand. The reason I didn't record more is for some reason I couldn't enter the levels after a certain point. No matter how many times I reset the game, nothing worked, and that was a shame because I really wanted to show the junkyard and Freddy's place. I tried my damnedest to play more, but if the game doesn't want me to cooperate, then fuck it. I'm not dealing with this shit.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Anyway, graphics look okay, I think. It looks more visually interesting than Friday the 13th with its environments, but the sprites can be hit or miss. Music is fantastic and is one of my favorite NES soundtracks. Greg Kirkhope brought his A-game by making an OST that has a creepy factor to it while making a catchy good time. My favorite tracks include Elm Street itself and The Third House, I guess. I'm just going by the YouTube playlist.
Anyway, let's end this shit and talk about my final thoughts.
Nightmare on Elm Street on the NES is a better game than Friday the 13th, but in some aspects it's very much worse. Gameplay, graphics, and sound are some of the stronger points, but what holds it back is its randomness and difficulty. The fact I can't enter the house unless I'm in a spot that's pixel perfect is reason enough to play Friday the 13th over this. Other than that, I can't stand the dream meter, collecting bones can be frustrating at times, and enemies are uninteresting and cheat most of the time. To the Nightmare fans, this is not worth trying out, and out of both games, don't play either. Just go back to watching the movies and praying the franchise will make a return someday. What a nightmare this game turned into.
Man, it is hot in here. Why am I itchy all of a sudden? Oh God! What could all this possibly mean? Oh shit.
Welcome prime time, bitch!
Freddy Krueger? Wait, why do you look like me? And why are you not burnt? And why don't you have the razor glove?
Let's just say the glove wasn't in the budget for this time.
What do you want from me?
Don't you see? I've been playing a little game with you. I had my associate, will it say, send you the Friday game on NES. And then once you were in your dreams, that's when I took charge and had you review Nightmare on Elm Street. But now, it's time for you to finish your due diligence and review this movie for me.
So it was you that sent me the game? Both of them? And the movie? Just so you can get me to make videos on them?
Well, I can't exactly take all the credit. And the associate in question is somebody that you're very familiar with.
Well, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I've done both games. I've done what you want. Just let me go.
Fine. If you don't want to play it that way, that's your bad. Because we have some plans for you.
What do you mean, we?
Oh, you'll be catching him soon enough. Just do me a favor, and don't go out the door.
Well, before I start, I figured, just give me 1 second and I'll...
You know what you have to do, kid. Review this, or it's nap time permanently.
Son of a fuck! How's it going, everyone? And welcome back. So it seems like I got a gift from hell, and the only way to end things is to talk about this movie, so... let's dive in, shall we?
Man, what a concept, huh? In a time now where crossovers are pretty much expected, this was something that fans thought they were never going to see. Now granted, we did have crossovers before this, like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman and King Kong vs. Godzilla, but I would go as far to say that this revolutionized all crossovers to come, and that became apparent the year later with AVP. As for the event today, this was a whole history by itself to get this one off the ground. The idea of this goes all the way back to the late 80s, but because Paramount and New Line couldn't come up with an agreement, it was scrapped. After Jason Takes Manhattan flopped and the character was sold to the house that Freddy built, they finally got the train moving again, and Jason Goes to Hell being the setup for it. Hell was right, as the film made its way into development hell with more than 18 drafts before they found a premise that worked.
If you're wondering why films like Jason X were made, well, it's probably because they were buying their time delaying this.
Some of these ideas involved a Freddy cult, having Freddy as a camp counselor who killed Jason, Jason being put on trial, and even a boxing ring in hell with Hitler having a front row seat. It wasn't until Mark Swift and Damian Shannon finally delivered a successful pitch in March 2002, nearly 10 years after Jason Goes to Hell. Jesus! In the director's seat is Ronnie Yu, who was hot off making Bride of Chucky, and I guess New Line decided he was the best pick for this. Filming began on September 9th, 2002, hey, my birthday, and fans were not happy to hear that Kane Hodder would not be returning for Jason, but instead with Canadian stuntman Ken Kersinger. Kane had been lobbying to get this film made, so the fact that he didn't even get a call is sad to me. I imagine his reaction and the fans too going something like this.
Son of a bitch.
The hype for this film was immense. So much so that they held a weigh-in a month before the film's release and hosted by Michael Buffer, which is insane to me. The movie slashed into theaters August 15, 2003, garnering positive reception and gathering over $100 million in the box office on a $30 million budget, becoming the highest grossing movie of both respective franchises. This is a movie that I have watched and loved ever since I was a kid and scared of both of these guys. I don't know why I watched this and not the other movies, but it's something that has lived in the back of my head, and now it's time to take a critical look at this. Team Freddy or Team Jason? Place your bets.
With all that covered, let's finally see who comes out on top and dive straight into the movie.
Now we have a scary New Line logo. We begin this movie with some narration by Freddy, played for the last time by Robert Englund, going over the glory days before being burned to death. Next we get a montage of kills from the other movies with Freddy telling us he has been forgotten by the residents of Springwood. But Fred's got an ace up his sleeve with Jason Voorhees, who ends up killing a random girl with giant tits.
Man, nothing like fake breasts to start our story.
Turns out this was a dream and not Betsy Palmer shows up to tell him that he needs to go to Elm Street and teach the kids a lesson. Unsurprisingly, it was Freddy in disguise, and we get the most 2000s title card imaginable. Jason makes it there in a short amount of time somehow, and this is where we meet our teen characters for this movie. First we have Laurie, played by Monica Keena, her best friend Kia, played by Kelly Rowland, and Gib, played by Catherine Isabel, and who cares about her, she's gonna die anyway. We also meet Trey, who is a complete asshole and gets what's coming to him.
Nice one, Jason.
Anyway, the police show up and think that Fred had something to do with this, and this has Laurie dreaming about him in the police station. Literally.
Trying to get a little Monica Keena at you, if you catch my drift.
There's a scene with Trey's best friend Blake, who graduated from the Nick Cage School of Acting, where he gets spooked by Freddy, finds his dad Alex Jones without a head before ultimately getting slashed off screen. We cut to the mental hospital where we meet Laurie's boyfriend Will, played by Jason Ritter, and his friend Mark, played by Brendan Fletcher. They see a news report about what happened at the house, and with the power of butt cheeks, they somehow get the keys and break out to go see if she's alright. We get some nothing scenes involving orange juice and best friends chatting it up. That is until Mark shows up scaring the shit out of Laurie and spreading the word of Freddy, with her passing out from seeing Will. There's also an awful jump scare with one of the oldest magic tricks in the book.
Got your nose!
She shouldn't have her nose, but let me guess, you weren't powerful enough, huh?
That's technically true, but the plot wouldn't let me off the leash just yet.
Mark and Will find out that every bit of info on Freddy has been wiped, and Mark regrets what happened earlier, so nice going, jackass. We arrive to a rave in a cornfield where a kid named Linderman stands up to Kia, and Gib decides to wander off, which sends her to the boiler room. Right before Krueger can deliver the final blow, Jason steals the kill and stops a potential rape in the progress. Freddy isn't happy about that.
She's mine! Mine! Mine!
Okay, had to make a quick editor's note, but I was referring to the kill. The kill he's mad about him stealing, not the rape. Freddy doesn't do that kind of thing in this series.
Sure, that's what you meant.
Next, we twist some heads, see an awesome fire stunt, and watch Jason fucking make a killing at the party. The kids manage to get away and now are joined by Discount Jason Mewes. We cut back to Mark where he falls asleep and gets to see his brother and has to pass on a message from Freddy.
Pass on a little message for me, will ya?
How subtle.
Hey, he didn't have it all bad. He started in that shitty Leprechaun Origins movie, though.
During a group huddle, an officer by the name of Stubbs joins in and fills the group on Jason's backstory, and Laurie falls asleep to make out with her dad. Gross. She pulls out Freddy's ear, and after looking up Hypnocell on the web, they hatch a plan to break into the sanatorium to steal their supply to keep themselves awake. Obviously things go horrible fast, with Stubbs dying and the stoner getting taken over by Freddy Worm. All the pills go down the drain, but Jay manages to take Jason down with tranquilizer before getting sliced in half. We finally arrive to the first fight between the two titans in the dream world, and even though it's completely ridiculous, it's fun to watch. Seeing Freddy play pinball with Jason is something I never thought I would find amusing, and I love Freddy trying every possible way to kill Jason with none of it working. But during the fight, this is where we find out that Jason is afraid of... water?
Really, man? Water?
I don't need to explain why this is horrible, do I? You're telling me, Jason Voorhees, The man who came back from the dead multiple times, survived in New York, body swapping and fucking outer space is hydrophobic? Who also swam just fine before, but now all of a sudden is afraid of a little splash? This guy survived stabs, bullets, being electrocuted, set on fire, hit with paintballs, and dealing with telekinesis, but no, a sprinkler can make him cower like a little bitch? I would understand if this was part 2 and he learned to overcome it. But not movie fucking 11. I know you need some type of weakness for him, but this is not the way to go here. Hell, bring back the Necronomicon and do some bullshit with that.
Okay, gotta remain calm. But you're still on my shit list, mister.
So somehow those dumbasses manage to haul Jason's big ass into the van, and they have the great idea to put Laurie under with drugs to pull Freddy from the dream world. Shit hits the fan quick as Jason wakes up and causes the van to crash. They make it to Crystal Lake miraculously and drag Laurie's body to the cabin with Jason not far behind. Meanwhile, in the dream world, Laurie saves Jason and learns the truth of what happened to her mother. So earlier in the movie, Will believes he saw Laurie's father murder her mother and that had him committed to the hospital. Turns out it was Freddy, of course, so it really isn't that big of a surprise. Anyway, stuff happens to where the cabin catches fire, with that being the ticket Laurie needed to get Freddy into the real world. Now it's time for round 2 against the slashers, and it's great. We have some nice swings and dodges, Jason having balls of steel, and Freddy just being ran through dozens of windows. It's a fun little bout that has some great moments, but it gets ruined by Linderman dying from some wall spike. Freddy catches up with Laurie and Will, but Kia intervenes and this happens.
How sweet. Dark meat.
Now, come on, it was a different time. Give me some slack.
Kelly Rowland decides to just insult the guy before she gets what she deserves by Jason. We have made it to round 3 and it is pure insanity. We start with some stabs and slashes from both, with even some WWE moves by Freddy. Jason has enough and launches him over to some gas canisters which he uses as torpedoes. One of them flies Jason to a construction site, and after being stabbed by rebar, he is beat repeatedly by a cement mixer swinging around. Freddy tries using a cart, but it gets stuck eventually, with his foot getting stuck in the mixer and being pulled down to the ground for more slashing. The cart sends both of them to a dock, and Jason seems to have the upper hand before Freddy cuts off his fingers and uses his machete against him. Freddy then stabs Jason in the eyes, while meanwhile Laurie and Will cover the dock in propane tanks and gas before they light that bitch up. Next, Jason plunges his hand into Freddy's hip and rips his arm off, but not before Freddy stabs him with the machete and the explosion sends both of them into the lake. Good Lord. It is an amazing final battle packed with buckets of blood, and I can't help but rewatch it over and over and over again. Is it corny? Yes. Is some of it nonsensical? Absolutely. But you can't tell me none of it wasn't worth waiting 10 years to finally experience. I only wish I got to see this unfold on the big screen back in 2003 like everyone else did. Anyway, back to the plot. It seemed like Freddy came out on top, but Jason fucking stabs him with his razor glove before Laurie lands the final blow, cutting the fucker's head. Freddy is finally dead, Jason drifts off in the water, and Laurie and Will escape never to be seen again. We ain't done yet, as Jason rises from the water holding Freddy's head as a trophy, but the bastard gives a sly wink to the audience, cutting to black and ending the movie.
That was totally wicked!
Wow. Just wow. What a roller coaster of a plot, but this is an insanely fun one to experience. I think it did the two slashers justice, but it's not perfect, and I'll get to that here soon. Starting with the positives, I like the premise a lot. Having Freddy bring Jason back from the dead to murder the Elm Street kids to instill fear is a neat idea and a good way to bring these two Goliaths together. One problem I have is that for a crossover, it feels more like a nightmare movie that just has Jason there. I know they probably couldn't use much of the lore from the Paramount era, but they could have found some workarounds and add to the Jason story for this movie. Another thing that bothers me is that Freddy gets very little when it comes to kills. He had 2 opportunities, but Jason took those from him, and that's just a shame. The only person he actually kills is Mark, and it's a poor showcase as opposed to the 17 from Jason. In general, the story is a fun time. They managed to respect both icons with their backstories, and they had a clever way of bringing them together. The biggest thing going against the movie is everything that wasn't Freddy or Jason. I'll talk more about this soon, but the teen characters just detract from the experience. From them being uninteresting or the mediocre acting on display, it's just a shame and a disservice to the great horror protagonists of the early years.
Alright, let's move on to the other stuff.
Let's start with the cast, and I'm getting the teens out of the way first. They're all the standard horror character tropes, and they do nothing interesting with any of them. You got the ditzy final girl and her stupid boy toy, the best friend who's kind of a bitch and caring somewhat, and the other one who's just gonna die regardless, the knowledgeable one about the killer, the nerd, the stoner, and I don't care about any of them. I don't care about Laurie and Will's relationship, Kia and Litterman growing to like each other, and none of it matters to me. The only character I actually liked was Stubbs, and even he isn't that special and is only in the movie for a few moments. In general, anything that wasn't Freddy or Jason was just a chore to stomach, so let's talk about the real stars here. Robert Englund is great as always, and for his final film performance, he ended it with a bang. It feels like a return to form, feeling a lot closer to parts 1 and 3, while also having some of the wackiness from the later entries. Not all of his jokes land for me, but in general this feels much closer to how I imagine Freddy to be. Ken Kersinger does a pretty good job as Jason. Granted, he'll never live up to the rage-fueled, calculated Kane Hodder, but what we have is a fine depiction. He is a bit of a slow walker, but has a mean swing with that machete. You can see his eyes a bunch, which is something Ronnie Yu wanted, and I can understand why, so we the audience can feel for him, but I don't think it works as well. Gotta say I like the height difference between our two slasher leads, but in conclusion I like Ken as Jason. Fight scenes... do I even need to say anything? At least we got some great kills like with Trey at the very beginning of the movie. Stunts were great like with the cornfield fire, but did they really need an excessive amount of people flying through the air? At least this one at the lake is pretty cool. Makeup is pretty great overall for both leads. I mean, look at this awesome Demon Freddy design. Pure nightmare fuel.
How appropriate. Not bad, Kruger.
Call it a little party trick.
The tone is pretty consistent across the board, but it has that early 2000s cynicism which brings a very cruel nature, mostly for the teens. Also, the sarcasm gets old. Fast. Special effects are... well... the practical stuff is great, but the CGI can be iffy in certain points. Fucking Freddy Worm piece of shit. One thing I cannot stand is the choppy editing. It isn't a style choice, it's just ridiculous and is everywhere across the whole fucking movie. Newsflash to all the editors, choppy slow-mo doesn't improve your product, it just makes the scene look ridiculous and out of place with everything else. Pacing is also lightning fast, and I was shocked learning that this movie was only an hour and 40 minutes max. I thought for a crossover they would have had more runtime, but I guess not. Music is fine. Didn't really get too much of it aside from the battle music and the ending walk. Don't really have a favorite piece in mind, but the metal is more funny than imposing. Visually, this movie looks fucking awesome. I love that whenever we see Freddy, it has a deep red background, and for Jason, a nice cool blue. Ronnie Yu wanted this to look like a comic book, and it paid off, I think. Not this kind of comic book. I'll save my thoughts on this next year.
I really don't have much to go over, so let's get into my final thoughts.
Freddy vs. Jason is a blood-soaked thrill ride that does the slashers justice, but everything surrounding them doesn't fare much better. I'm not a fan of the teen cast and the stupid editing throughout, but I feel like Freddy and Jason both are good and respected in their stories. Mostly. I like the premise to bring them together, the reasons for them to end up fighting, and I can't praise the fights enough whether how ridiculous they are. It's a well done clash between monsters, and is still a movie I love coming back to even when there are better films in the genre. Regardless of its issues, it will forever be a movie I will always come back to, and it's probably one of my favorite movies ever made. This was one hell of a way to close out Halloween.
Oh wait, I just realized this is my dream. So, I guess there's only one thing to do.
What are you talking about?
I decided to bring in my little friend here.
This is my world, don't you remember? You are my toy to play with.
I can do anything I want. Even then, you said it yourself, so time to send them both back to oblivion.
No!
Well, glad those two douchebags are gone. No! No! It's just a nightmare. Okay. Feels like I've been asleep for months. I mean, one night you fall asleep, it's June, and then the next you wake up, and it feels like it's October, so that's weird. Well, at least I got to keep a little souvenir. So. I'm just glad the nightmare's over and I don't have to deal with. Hopefully the next person that decides to invade my personal space isn't a masked killer of sort, but we'll just have to see.